Found the role of culture in the development of human capital. Hello everybody, we are very happy to be welcoming you at the 100% Tatarstan Forum. Today we'll be speaking about the role of culture in the development of human capital, and my colleagues, may I introduce them. Rada Ipova, the Minister for Culture of the Republic of Tatarstan. Tatiana Bankina, Director of the Institute of the Management of Human Resources, Higher School of Economics. Aidar Shamsuddinov, Director of a Polylingual School. Albina Nasirova, the Director of Bala City Kids Centers. And Rosa Akhmadieva, Director of Kazan State Institute of Culture and Arts of the Republic of Tatarstan. We might start discussing culture rather widely, looking at that also at education, science, culture, architecture, etc. There are diversity of the concept of culture, ethnic culture, new urban culture. Or we can, of course, narrow down and speak about the culture as a factor of economic development. I guess I would like to start with a question. How would you like to look at it? What culture entity would you like to start talking about? I don't think that we can be considering culture without thinking about economy, because even if we speak about the infrastructure of cultural entities of whatever territory, it is one of an important factors of investment attractiveness of that territory. In that sense, yes, we can see culture overall as an element of a wider infrastructure, as a guarantor of quality development of the territory. On the other hand, it is also an industry where various products, works, and services are being produced and generated. In that sense, I would say we can't limit the view of culture, at least in the format of this discussion. And talking about the influence of culture on the human potential, the widest spectrum, the greatest value of human potential is the ability to have different perceptions, and cultural diversity, richness of culture is an important factor for making sure that the mind is open. Whether we look at it from one side or the other, we will still come to the point of improving the competitiveness of human as one or the other key player in the competitive development of whatever territory. Yes, the human capital is indeed identifies an ability of a human to generate economic income. Different people are born and students and might not be standing out, but then turning out to be creative artists and then contributing greatly into the economy, whilst another person might not be managing to do that, which is the reason why we are using that term of the human capital, that a human is a human always, irrespective of whether he manages to get something done, whether he became a famous artist, performer, or just doing a menial work somewhere. One of them did become a significant economic factor, the other one possibly didn't generate that income. May I comment here and comment the first statement of yours talking about the role of culture. Indeed, human capital, and there were 3 Nobel Prizes awarded for economy for the theory of human capital, and the contributions, be it of the state, separate individuals, or the companies, is important in the education, the culture, in the healthcare. All that is being done because that gives a good payback, and we see creative abilities are being important. McKinsey's report states that 40% of jobs require creative competencies, but even for 70% for newly created jobs. And this creativity, variativity, ability towards innovation and non-standard decisions, these are obviously shaped by culture. And at the early stage of, say, family education or community education, and later in wider circles, for many institutions are studying the role of creative, say, labor in non-creative organizations, and we are seeing a greater and greater contribution of culture here because we start shaping quality characteristics of human capital. And here, the role of culture is paramount, especially in the shaping of quality characteristics of human capital. And not to be long, there are different indexes of creative cities or creativity. One of those is European Creativity Index. It has an indicator such as the share of disciplines in school curricula related to culture and arts, the share of people studying culture and arts programs in universities, and the share of disciplines in non-creative educational programs of culture and arts. Unfortunately, I have to admit we are very much behind for the moment. We don't have enough subjects in that. Well, in the Republic of Tatarstan, that lagging behind in less notable than elsewhere, that's actually something that makes me happy. Today, in the standards of new generation, the share of subjects as well as out-of-class, out-of-school projects with the institutions of culture, be they in the Museum Day of Culture, Moscow Star Day, we also have such projects in Tatarstan. Such things are very important. Let us pay our attention to those who are doing education. What's your share of subjects related to culture? I fully agree we need to develop creative thinking, and myself being a person concentrating on preschool, the early development of children, I believe we need to be paying attention to this at early preschool age. For example, when you are coming to kindergarten, you are told that this is the way the sun should look like, the way it should be drawn. Unfortunately, we should be going away from this. We should be giving our children a chance, opportunity of making choices despite the early preschool ages, and the more creative projects we are going to have, the better would it be for our future generation. And I'd like to add that that quality depends on how often we start touching on the topic, the development, the exposure to culture, and the development of participation in culture among children and youth. It's important to be exposing them to this love towards culture, traditions, and language from early on. For example, we have a project called Hello Museums. Children are exposed to this beginning age 5. Everybody is excited. Children are interacting with representative of the museum. They are getting exposed to world artistic culture. Every 5th lesson is taking part in various museums of our city, and I'm looking and comparing children that went through that course and others. We clearly see a difference. You need to be, touching them with the love towards art, literature, culture, and the earlier we start, the better, so that they would be going to the museums, to exhibits, the premieres in the opera and ballet theater. We should be, of course, exposing our children to this and showing example to them from early on. I would like to add that we are now implementing the concept of polylingual school, the first polylingual complex Adamnar, and I'd like to state that, keeping in mind that we are the modern region, tempo is very high, and people are very much busy. Thus, in our polylingual school from year 1 through year 11, we are implementing a course of the artistic culture of the ethnic people of the Republic of Tatarstan, to make sure that respective children are familiar with that and valuing it, because the main message of the of such efforts is to make sure that representatives of various mentalities would learn to live in concord and accepting each other's culture, which is impossible unless you're familiarized with that. Obviously, we have various community education components, but this penetrating course of culture dedicated to culture allows you the possibility of perceiving the values of the culture of people living side by side with you. It's very important because in the recent 10-15 years, many schools stopped even offering drawing lessons, or there are very few schools that actually have some music lessons or clubs where guys are playing guitar or capable of doing something creative. I would guess that not every school has a theater club there as well, but that, I think, is what's contributing to people having this human potential of taking part in the creative economy, the economy of the new era, based on design, based on architecture, based on the fashion and the beauty. May I comment here? You don't have necessarily to be some specifically talented person and show your talents in the culture and arts. In 2019, we have launched a project in Young Spectators Theater. The project's name is Festival Next. No professionals performing, and the performers are children themselves. And this year we are running that as an educational laboratory, because that has shown us that children have great desire to be coming on stage, to be feeling themselves being the center of the attention and feel creative. But we don't have enough, say, teachers that would be capable of teaching the child the mastery of scenic performance, and at no way we are looking at expecting that these pupils would become necessarily artists. No, but that kind of experience will clearly help them to feel more confident, ability to come on stage, draw the attention of the spectators there. That will be very useful. Thus, I believe that subjects related to culture and art is not necessarily directed at becoming performers or the culture workers. The economy today is not based on the principle of turning every human into the labor resource, but the challenge of today, the challenge of the innovative economy, is to transform every person of ours, every representative of our resources, into talents.
Because competitiveness of any company, any business, any area, if you're engaged in a small or medium business, everything is based on your belief in realization, self-realization of your potential, not just in art, and just in your mentality, your thinking. So that is why it's a tad different. Well, that's what happens, that educational facilities now, it's the best educational facilities understand this, and they prepare kids for such changes. So my colleagues probably will respond better to this question, and I think that education facilities now, it's not just for passing exams, that the main goal is just to teach children to think, and the culture, it's just an experience and self-analysis and the ability to listen to yourself and hear yourself. So that's so what I think. And yes, and also Kazan State Institute of Culture, it is a magnet which attracts people from different regions and teach them with some professional competence. And we were just talking about that these are the elements of the competences should every child have. You train professionals. Well, tell us how it impacts on human capital in our republic. May I just provide some comments about your questions? What you said, that a child was a mediocre student and an excellent A student cannot do that. And we have different directions, and we have people who can execute and just, who can be performer, and performers stay performers. There are teachers who invest into a child and work with the child. There are artists who are ready to go on stage. Where we have researchers who, there are specialists in folklore, and of course they all contribute into development of culture. And culture as it is, a child comes across culture, and together with the Minister of Culture, we develop concepts of how to grow up a child and bring up child in this atmosphere of culture. And we have 7 stages, and all of them are connected with the education, because culture has a lot of facets, and it's you can find it everywhere. You can find it in different types of schools and institutions, and even in universities. Culture is everywhere. Culture is a universe. It's a space. And what I want to say is that just my colleague said it, that you have to preserve culture. You have to take care of it. And just recently, we started project WinFest, where young people and children, we teach them traditions and customs of Volga region, of all regions, of all nationalities who live in the Volga region. Maybe you will tell more about it. So on the first stage, we understand children now are in Instagram, in social networks, and we are together with Institute of Culture, with our professional communities of artists. So we created kind of a library of traditional games of our nationalities who live here. We have Mari nationality, Russian, Tatars national games, and we started this project. We just go to children who just play in the streets, and when we say our yard, our block, or kids on the block, we understood that for kids it's very important just to play outside. And we just see that our teachers and artists, street artists, they just went to the kids who just traditional play in the streets, and they work with that. And what we start doing, we started getting our feedbacks. And I believe that the next stage of the project, as we say, is some kind of a teams and competitions. And in educational facilities, we'll do it. And among them, we will have competitions. And among these kids, so they will make videos, upload them in social networks. So what I want to say is that we observed quite an interesting things when kids forget about their bicycles, forget about their scooters, forget about their just gadgets. They give them back to their parents, and with a great pleasure, they talk to each other. This project has a very deep philosophy inside, because my colleagues said that there must be an environment, and well, I've been telling you about the project. What is culture? Culture provides and allows a kid to be confident in himself, or self-confident, and every kid in his street team acquires quite an important skill which we are losing. We are losing trust. We have a trust crisis, and that is a powerful tool. When kids play in one team, they check each other, and they start believing in their own, in themselves. He has more skills, he's braver, and he's craftier, he's foxy. So, and if he wins, he feels better. There's two main competencies. They believe in the victory and trust. They're very important. We believe that we'll keep going, and we'll continue teaching the customs and traditions and the local ones as a resource. It's quite a young project. It started on the 1st of August, but we're pretty sure that it's going to be quite a powerful movement. It's a symbol. Well, we said a phenomenon for Republic of Tatarstan. Why phenomenon? Because in one street we have a mosque and church. You have to teach these things since very childhood. And if you don't teach each other to learn cultures of each other, to learn the culture of your neighbor, you can't motivate kids to go back to their roots. And these coexistence, this might not occur in the future, and this is what we strive to do. Let me support you. I believe that all colleagues and the hosts, you just said key things and expressed key ideas that, yeah, sure thing. And among all these competencies of modern competencies in modern education, apart from knowing and being able to do the critical thinking, the attitude to yourself and understanding of yourself, and ability to live together, this feeling the neighbor. And it's very important when culture and education goes beyond schools, for official formal educational facilities. When it's just good, when I like when we understand that childhood is life. You study not to do something later on. No, here and now. These are your best years. These are the most intense in life. We are all came from childhood, and what you go through emotionally, just in your immediate surrounding with your neighbors and family, it is a key thing. And nowadays we very often regret that we lose motivation in schools, not right in the very incipient of school, but the 6th and 7th grade, later on high school, yeah, they think about where to go later on. But no, at this stage, and I believe, and yes, and I support completely, I believe it's a key initiative of Tatarstan, right here, right through going to shaping up these communities and direct them to some kind of a very kind culture-oriented activity that gives the results. And this core, which you have, we have this new term through teaching through entertainment. No, through involvement. And this is the example which Irada gave. Kids forget about traditional kids things, and they're involved in this new environment, motivation to become better, to become more appreciated. And this is the feeling of dignity and self-respect based on your own culture, based on your national roots, on your land. These are the key values which are the shapers of the human capital. And of course, later on, they give feedback. Well, yeah. Well, traditionally, the performances join creative activity, perhaps some kind of games. These are the ones which shape and give you understanding of your role in the team and to ability to reach something, and which comes a factor of success or a factor of achievement, including some kind of material things. These are the. It's wonderful that it's being implemented. It just happened to be that traditionally it is about this sphere which earlier we thought it's just some kind of a burden. But it did give this potential, and it does give this potential for some reason. In education, it is some kind of an ancillary thing, but it's not fair, I believe. Eldar, let me ask you, what's your dream? What's your dream? What are you dreaming about in the context of culture and education? Well, to start with, all my pedagogical life as a director of school, it has been a travel to my dream, a trip to my dream, a journey to my dream. My kids and I, my students and I, will love reading. And we read Alchemist, Paulo Coelho, about a person who is traveling to his dream. And my main dream is to launch these ideas through the ideas which we have been fostering these ideas in my pedagogical work. So we want to scale it on a bigger picture, because if the project My Tatarstan will not be limited within such polylingual schools, and it is pretty indicative because this is the project which is the brand of the Republic of Tatarstan, because this mutual respect which we are forming in schools, Tatarstan cannot be without it. Our spectators or viewers might not know about this. Well, you can find us in Instagram, Polylingual Complex, and we are present in all social networks, and every kid and every parent can choose this educational trajectory directed to just satisfying the ethnical and cultural requirements or demands of what they want. Not just a profound learning of foreign languages, which is English with the first and second foreign language. We also respect state languages of Russian Federation, and in Tatarstan in particular, not just Russian language, which we take for granted, but also we learn Tatar language, be it state or just national language. May I piggyback? Yes, multilingualism, the polylingual story, this is a trend. These are the best universities go into bilingualism, polylingualism, and we say the earlier the better. And so by the age of 4 kids are linguistic geniuses. So we talk about the competitiveness of next generation. So it is. Understand that important role is played that the knowledge of languages, the fluency in these languages are very important. We have to be very proud of this project, and that we are launching not just multilingual schools. We launch and we start multilingual daycare centers and kindergartens, and it goes without saying that I believe that thanks to this educational environment, thanks to these classes, we will be able to develop creative thinking and non-traditional thinking. Yes, through knowing language, our kids will be able to compete not just in Russian but all over the world as well. We're talking about shaping new educational culture, which will be implemented, well, as you remember, of course, somewhere between 19th and 20th century, when in all good gymnasiums, children were taught foreign languages, and this polylingualism, which of course develops the flexibility of thinking. It's not just about to know something, it's about to be able to think on these languages, and of course to think on foreign language and to accept somebody else's mentality. The one who understands, the people are able to forgive. It's just the whole trend. But let me repeat myself. If you say that you have to build an innovation economy, a person should be a multifunctional. A person must think on it must be a multifaceted person. We have forgotten about it today, but culture, what is culture? Culture is as an integrated part of the culture of society. It's one of the key indicators, and for us, this is a marker of polylingualism and polylingual system of what we have here. It is some kind of marker because polylingualism, it's a different cultural things which go through, and the language is part of the culture. It all shapes up the unity, the unique space for dialogue. When we understand it, there are different options. I can say it in English, I can say it in Russian. I have options, I have different images. May I contribute? Apart from language culture, when we work with the children with limited abilities, so we have a lot of festivals, we conduct a lot of contacts, and even during this COVID situation, together with the Minister of Culture, we organized Lit the Stars, when we work with our teachers who work with the children with the limited abilities. And we organize a concert and roundtables, discussions. So we talked about serious problems, and even during the pandemic lockdown, we were able to talk about and discuss this problem. Well, thank you. And we talk about people with disabilities. About 10% of population. It's a very important economic factor to include people with such, well, peculiarities into a fully fledged economic and cultural life. A lot of people say that it's important to have a comfortable urban environment and a possibility to be entertained and to have a mass culture in the cities and different kind of cultures. Errada, what's going on in Tatarstan? Let me put it this way. Oh yeah, infrastructure, culture are important, but let me consider it from two sides. First is cultural institutional facilities in terms of access to the high achievements to the culture. But the other one, I do not like mass culture, although it's a cool thing, but the quality of mass culture doesn't always comply with the values of our republic. Well, infrastructure and self-realization, creative self-realization, which allows to develop a good taste. People, when we just, for example, organize some kind of a lot of interesting events, anybody can go to stage and anybody can perform, even amateurs who believe that they are ready to go to the stage and perform in front of other people. We have both of these. And we invest, we are one of the regions which invest a lot into the buildings and culture. And if you build, when we talk about investment, well, it doesn't matter what school you're in, a person is important. Human factor has incredible importance. Take it, for example, it's some kind of a rural club, and there are people with the huts which are burning, and let it be just anything, theater. But if it is just an empty, there will be no people there if you don't have people who love their work. If you have good teachers at school, or if you have good consultants in the kindergarten, children will be there. But where can we find these people? You cannot simplify the world and the notion of culture. culture is an integrated thing, and even an educated person who is, if he doesn't have a culture, doesn't have the values, he is not a friend, he is a foe for the society.
What do you dream about in 10 years? Irada, could you answer this question? Because you're responsible for cultural development in the region. Well, my dream is really simple. I really dream so our next generations, my grandchildren, will love our land and will be able to develop any conditions for their self-development here, this land. This is also a part of culture. When you remember about your roots. So I want them to be special, to be personalities, to be able to contribute into our development of our land and region. I completely agree with my colleagues, and I also I'm dreaming so we would be able to make our grandchildren happy, to make them happy here. There's so many research nowadays dealing with the feeling of happiness, and I think that culture and love, these are two major key components how we can make people happy. To be able to forgive, to be able to live together. And that's why I think that today a lot of things are developing in Tatarstan to make people happy and to make them understand that they contribute into development of our land, our region. Some people say that I work I work to improve everything around, and we have to create those conditions for them to be able to be proud of them, to be proud of our land, to make our kids, our grandkids happy. Human capital is something that develops well-being, the idea of well-being. Albina, what about you? Yes, that's true. Everything that we're doing now, initiating now, we do to make our kids happy. I'm a mother of 3 kids, and I also want our kids to study with pleasure, to understand why they study all that they're studying now, to find a profession they're going to love, and to live and enjoy living in a stream. I would like to contribute. Our university turns 50 this year, and many folk groups and many groups and bands come from all the regions, and we were able to see that diversity at the theater, at the Opera Theater, and this is exactly my dream. So we could keep this tradition, keep this diversity. And this year we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the Second World War victory, and that was in the pandemic, but anyways we were able to organize all those events, to sing songs together, to organize the parade. And I would like to wish everybody and our next generation to use our experience in the future, because culture is something that can help us develop ourselves. Culture is something that is bringing us up, so I guess that it will help to make everybody happy. Well, I would like my kids to feel happy because they live here on this land, and they would be proud of this land. Yesterday, when we were coming back from Yelabuga, and we saw sunflowers in the fields, and I was proud to see those sunflowers. That's also a part of our culture. The Yelabuga Open Economic Zone, this is also a part of our life in Tatarstan. I would like every young and elderly person in Tatarstan to be proud of Tatarstan. Prosperity of Russian regions, prosperity of our region, that's what I'm dreaming about. And I hope that our children will be able to live better than we do. And I would also love to contribute that not only in the cultural sector, but in any other sector. That's why I would like to thank our government, because they initiate those national projects that let us develop each sector, each field of life. And IRADA is now developing a new strategy, and the strategy is focused on digitalization, many new approaches in the field, and I hope that this strategy will be successful. Thank you. Thank you all for your work and efforts. I would like to thank you. I'm glad to be here in the studio. This is not the first time I work with Tatarstan, and I always value those opportunities to work with experts from Tatarstan. I hope that our cooperation will continue, and I'm sure that we can be useful for each other and we can contribute in each other's projects and work. And I hope that we'll be able to launch projects in different sectors and fields here in Tatarstan, because Tatarstan is ready for new innovations, ready for new projects, and this is very important that we get this support here. To be brave. I guess that that we are all afraid of the situation with the pandemic, and that's why we have to be brave. We have to be brave inside ourselves. I will probably make some conclusions. I'm a dreamer, and I'm sure that if person doesn't dream, he doesn't live. If we're talking about some social environment, I'm a perfectioneer, and I hope that it will be a land of great people, and we have to bring those great people up, and only education and culture can help us to grow this new generation of great people. Education must be a dominating sector here, because we are losing some basic competences nowadays. We have calculators and we can use them to calculate any numbers. So I'm afraid that this modern life are making people not to use their mind. I'm afraid it's true. Today we're becoming especially due to the pandemic. We wash our hands constantly, we wear masks. We are very sensitive and we care a lot about health. But it's very important to be careful not only physiologically, but also morally. And before we interfere in somebody's independent space, because we wear masks not to defend ourselves, virus. We do it to defend others. It's very important to understand this concept, to understand I think that Tatarstan started participating in a national project last year. I think that our experience can be useful for all the regions in Russia and even maybe for the rest of the world. Because only a person with high values can be successful and win the competition in the future. That's what our kids want to be now. They want to be free, they want to be independent. And only the inner culture and the inner world can help us.